Welcome back to Losantaville Lanes in week 4 of the Hudepohl King of TV Bowling. Match 2 this week featuring Mike Meibers. And David Newrath, here's a look at Mr. Meibers.
Mike does a lot of things right. Low at the line, deep knee bend, straight arm swing. If we got to pick a weak point of his game, it's release. But I tell you what, I don't think he's going to show us any weak points.
We'll find out soon enough as we're ready to open match 2. Mike Meibers in frame 1.
You know, his score of 772 to get to where he is shows that he has some talent.
Exactly. The lane savvy and the release are his two most vulnerable points. And unfortunately, going into a match against a guy that just shot 259, that lane savvy may prove to be his undoing, but he does so many things right that you can never take anybody too lightly.
He's been bowling in our qualifiers for 2 years now. We said he's fairly new, and 2 years is not a long time.
And we should also point out this is his first appearance in our telecast, so that adds to the butterflies a bit. Let's see if they go away here with a spare. Tough one to pick up anyway, huh, David?
Yes, the 1-2-10 extremely difficult, especially on the first couple of frames where you're going to be throwing the ball with some authority.
And speaking of authority, here comes Kevin Gillette, who had authority getting out of the gate early in match 1, recording 4 consecutive strikes, if I'm not mistaken. And he'd like nothing better than to open up match 2 in the same fashion.
He had the keys to the Taurus that are fitting in the parking lot in his hand.
And he opens up with a strike.
Is it phenomenal? What is going on with Kevin Gillette today? I can't believe it. Let's take a look at it here. This ball is not going to be a strike. There's no way in the world for 59 feet this ball should strike. But watch the head pin, center your screen. Go to the left-hand side, come off the wall, and take 3 pins out. Incredible.
David, do we have a term for that?
I think we'll call it beach blanket bingo instead of pins.
Every pin doing its job, though. Every pin doing its job.
Well, you know, our bowling tip is on bowling language today at the end of this game.
Well, let's hope it's just the language of the way the pins fall instead of the expletives some people would have to delete.
Yes, indeed. We're looking at the 2-8. A difficult spare to make. If you hook the ball too much, you will take the 2, send it to the right, the ball will careen to the left. You have to hit it dead on or just a little bit right of center to create a spare.
The ball actually has to
look
take
out,
pins.
look out. That's exactly what I described at first. Open frame.
The Newrath factor at work, warning us of the imminent danger of that little weasel hiding back there in sleeper-like fashion. That's the JD bowling language. The little weasel hiding back there in sleeper-like fashion.
Oh.
Mike Meibers now in frame 2.
Mike has been given a second breath of air, and in true fashion, he takes advantage of it by filling the pocket up. Leaving a rather weak 10, however, he's going to have to fine-tune this line that he's bowling on right now in order to strike for his game. Just because it's where Kevin is experiencing success doesn't mean that he can play there also.
10 pin on lane 10 in frame 2 for Mike Meibers.
You know, I mentioned earlier that Darrell Higgins shot this phenomenal score yesterday of 868 in the men's Hamilton City Tournament. The women's Hamilton City Tournament is going to be at Coleman Lane starting March the 21st through April 5th, and the entries close February 28th.
There we're looking at the score. Mike Meibers with a strike here can take a 1-pin advantage over Kevin Gillette. Big shot for Mike.
Kind of that surrealistic effect by Roy Alfers and our fine crew here as they go out of focus, and we refocus here on Mike Meibers. And a surrealistic combination that he's not really pleased with.
The 8 count that he leaves is going to be a little funny in the pinfall. Let's take a look at it here. The 5 pin is going to be the second pin back in the middle of your screen. Let's watch it. It's going to weasel itself right in between. Look at this. There it goes. Right in between the 4 and the 8. Sometimes, and most of the time, that 5 pin will do a twist and take out both those pins. That was a good shot by our camera crew.
Sure was.
And a great shot by Mr. Meibers. He comes up with a mark when he needed it.
The pinfall you hear in the background is not another roll-off, ladies and gentlemen. It is a league, Sunday morning league.
That's right. The B'nai B'rith League.
Trying to have the fun. It's great to have the fine folks from B'nai B'rith here rolling. And it's good to see Kevin Gillette now trying to get back on top of his game. 10 pin.
JD, let's take a look at his shot in the next couple of frames. We're going to watch him. If he hung up in that ball and it went out onto the lane, that's one thing. If he's adjusting his game now to carry, it's going to be tough. 10 pin across lane should be no problem for Kevin.
It's great to have the league in, but Bo, do you think this could be somewhat of a distraction for these guys today?
Not really. They're used to competing, you know, in league with the noise going on around them.
Well,
fine proprietors.
That's right. Proprietors there.
Yes, we have Sue Durkin and her daughters Wendy and Joey. What a bunch of beautiful ladies.
Yes, indeed. That ought to help our ratings quite a bit. And of course, speaking of beautiful ladies,
we're missing a proprietor. There she is.
So,
yes, we made an official announcement this week, and Sue and I are now partners here in Losantaville Lanes.
What a duo that's going to be.
I'm
ladies
excited.
of Losantaville, a dynamic duo.
There it is. That's what we want to see out of both players. A good adjustment, a fine adjustment. Kevin Gillette is back in the pocket, more solid than ever.
I don't know what Kevin had for breakfast, but Wendy Durkin, a very distinctive breakfast eater this morning as I came in, Doritos and grapefruit juice. Certainly the breakfast of champions. So maybe that is the secret to Nordic beauty in the Durkin household. I, on the other hand, have plenty of Hude for breakfast.
Oh, no. Going wide, leaving the 2-10. A difficult spare again. Anytime when you have to play a bank shot, as you call it, JD, it makes it difficult because you only have like a quarter of an inch or an inch at the most of a pin to hit in order to make the spare.
Well, let's see what Mr. Meibers can do right here. Two and 10 combination.
That's the idea, JD, but not quite good enough. Open frame for Kevin Gillette is an invitation to bring it on down. Michael has to start striking here. Lane 9, 5th frame. He better get untracked.
Taking his time here and getting adjusted. It has to be difficult and frustrating for him with that open frame.
Kevin Gillette's enjoying the view right now. Not that you ever wish bad on somebody, but if your opponent gives you an invitation and another one right here, that's terrible.
And the 10 stays standing back there. Thought it might topple.
He wished it would have. The washout, as we call it, the 1-2-4-10. Mike is unnerved at this point. He's starting to panic a little bit. His feet got fast, and he's playing the wrong line. Mike may have been able to shoot a tremendous score in qualifying, but I think we're seeing the lights and lack of experience take effect right now, Bo.
That's for sure. You know, his first time on television, and you can't imagine the feeling until you're there.
I'll vouch for that, even with my couple of ill-fated frames I threw. But we're going to take a timeout here. Right after this, we'll be back with more of the Hudepohl King of TV Bowling.
Shaky start. Mike opens in the 1st frame, spares in the 2nd and 3rd, and another open in the 4th and 5th frames. Gillette, however, comes out strong with a strike, opens in the 2nd, and then begins filling frames until disaster in the 7th when he opens, leaving Mike with an open door. In the 8th and 9th frame, Mike once again answers with spares, leaving the opportunity to gain the advantage going into the 10th frame.
Spare. And Bo, as you talk about the percentages now coming to factor.
If Kevin strikes here, that gives him 167. Mike would have to throw 3 strikes in the 10th frame to win by a pin, or 2 strikes in 9 for a tie, and we've yet to have one of those this year, Bo.
Yeah, that's correct. What we would do in the event of a tie is they would have an immediate 9th and 10th frame roll-off to determine the winner.
Right now, Kevin Gillette doing his best to determine victory for him outright.
Changes the situation a little bit. Mike still has to get the first 2 strikes in the 10th frame, and then a 9-pin count would win it. But it's very, very easy to figure out at this point. The party's over. You can go home if you don't strike right on this ball. Mike is re-racking. He must have saw a pin off spot. I can't see from here which one it is, but he didn't like it, and if you don't like it, sweep it.
And it happens once again.
Some players use that technique too, is just to gather a few extra seconds to relax and get your thoughts together.
Much like stepping out of the batter's box for a baseball player.
That's right, J.D. Kevin out of the picture. The game is over for him. Mike needs a strike. Let's watch. Incredible. Great shot. Nice, loose, and relaxed shot. I'll tell you, J.D., don't go away. Head pin's going to do most of the damage again. Ball's going to deflect to the right there. Head pin goes to the wall, comes off, hits the 4, but it was going down already. The 4 takes out the 7. Loose, relaxed. Mike is in the driver's seat. He's sweeping it off again. Another re-rack. Technically, in match play or tournament competition, you are allowed to do that. Most players don't utilize that because the machinery is fine, and I don't see anything wrong with the racks here anyway. But again,
but as you mentioned, sometimes it's a chance just to get a break.
I think that's what he's using it for, J.D.
Do you think maybe since he got a strike and he did it the first time, he tried it again?
Maybe. Let's watch. He's got to have this to win the game. Any chance. Over. Best he can finish with at this point is 158. Kevin Gillette with 259 the first game, drops down to a 166, but will be our winner in match 2 also, J.D.
You could see Mike Meibers checking that tally board, seeing if there were a chance for him to win. It's not there, so he's playing for pride. Will he pick up the spare? Yes, he does. So we finish out match 2. Kevin Gillette wins it razor close. Back with more right after this for Udi.
Today's bowling tip is being brought to you by West Hills Ford.
Every group of people that share a special interest develop their own vocabulary so that any outsider can easily be recognized. Bowlers are no exception, so here are a few key words and definitions. 10 in the pit describes a strike that all 10 pins go back into the pit. Rip the rack describes a very powerful strike with side movement. Ring 10 is a 10 pin left on a great hit. A scout is normally the head pin thrown into the wall and then ricocheting across into another pin. And every pin doing its job is the favorite phrase of an unnamed bowling announcer to describe action that happened so quickly he didn't see it at all. It's going, gone.
Today's bowling tip has been brought to you by West Hills Ford.